Okay, welcome back. We are doing a quick overview of Project for the Web, which is not the same thing as Project Online, even though they sound the same. Project Online is on its way out. They're still supporting it for a while because some people are still using it, but it's really, everything's going toward Project for the Web, and also not MS Project Desktop, which is totally awesome, very detailed application, but it costs about $700 per license. And MS Project, the desktop version, people who are in commercial construction, people who are building like helicopter engines and helicopter motors and stuff, and like really big projects, they tend to stick with Project Desktop version. It's worth it for them. That's not what I'm looking at today. Today we're looking at Project for the Web, but I will give you a quick glimpse at Project Online just to show you the difference. So this is basically the landing page for Microsoft Project. As you can see, I've got a bunch of different Microsoft Project projects down here, but there's one that has a slightly different looking icon over here. Oh, that's a roadmap actually. At any rate, there's down at the very bottom of the page, there's a link that says go to Project Online. And if you follow that link and create a project, then you'll end up somewhere looking like this, which looks like the old-fashioned project that we're used to and not the new Project for the Web, which is like that. This is Project Online. Looks a lot like the desktop app, the $700 desktop application, but it's not as robust and does not have quite as much functionality. Here we can create tasks A, B, C, D, E, F, and so forth. And a lot of the same things you'll find here on Project Online, but this is SharePoint based, and pretty much if you're looking to manage a huge ginormous project, you want to go with the $700 per license desktop application. Otherwise, you want to go with Project for the Web, which is what we're going to be talking about today. All right, Project Online is closed. This is Project for the Web. Totally awesome application, totally great. Not as detailed and robust as the desktop application. Lately, I've been looking at Monday.com and Microsoft Project for the Web. I find them both to be totally cool, useful, good, helpful, beneficial types of, I'm just going to do a new plan here. Well, I'll wait on that while I talk about this. Monday.com and Project are both awesome. I can't say that I like one better than the other. They both have strengths and weaknesses. I'm just going to point out a couple of those as I go here today, and there's so much more that I'm not going to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to make a new plan, which is to say a new project. I'm just going to go with a blank plan. The roadmap is cool because the roadmap is going to give you your overview of multiple projects. So, but right now, just blank plan. I've been making a bunch of sandbox plans. I'll call this one Sandbox 12. Project manager is going to be Joe. All right, Joe, you're the project manager, and the start date today is May 31st. I'm going to have this thing start off on June 5th. Looks like it got June 4th. That'll work. And down at the bottom here, when we're just doing our overall overview project details, at the bottom we can choose our calendar settings. You can create different work weeks or just go from, I'm going to do the default work week, but you can make other calendars if you have people working on the weekends, if you have people working the night shift, if you have people working 15 hours a day, which if you're a senior project manager, that's your average work day, I'm sure. But anyway, you can adjust all that stuff down there, but for right now, we're looking good. So Sandbox 12. One thing that's nice in the Project for the Web is that it's really easy to go in there and create and edit the task names. It's also easy to indent and outdent those. let's see, right click. No, I'm not seeing indent and outdent from right click, but there's a keyboard shortcut that I use, and it's Shift, Alt, and arrow, like right or left arrow. So as you can see, it's just so easy to go in there and make these into subtasks, create more tasks, EFGHI, we'll say these ones are also subtasks. We could even do a subtask. We can outdent them again and indent them. Again, that's Alt, Shift, and arrow key. Oh, this one's too far. There we go. That's good. And then in order to get a look at these on the kind of Gantt chart view, or what nowadays they're calling it the timeline view. I mean, Microsoft popularized the concept of a Gantt chart, and now they're calling it a timeline instead of a Gantt chart. But a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. We're going to say 2 days, 2D, 2D. Notice that the task A is getting its duration updated as soon as I put in durations for these other tasks. And I'm not able to put in a task duration, for example, for task D because it's a summary task. It's a summary task since it has subtasks underneath it. And why are these summary tasks only showing us 2 days and not 4 days for their duration? We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I also want to see some other information here. I want to see like some start date and finish date, and like, okay, here we've got who they're assigned to. Oh, A again, summary task, can't do that one, but let's assign this one to Joe. And let's assign this one to Joe also. And we're just going to assign everything to Joe. Joe is a good hard worker around here at the eagleDog Corporation. Okay, but we want to see the dates also. So for that, we got to add columns. We can make up our own new field. The columns are also known as fields. But I want to know the start and finish dates. We've got a start date there, and I want to see the finish date here too. And then you can see for other columns, effort, dependencies. Dependents and depends on. Depends on is what it depends on to get completed, and its dependents are the ones that come after it. Well, let's just do depends on. And let's say, okay, so now task C is going to depend on task B. Finish to start, 2FS, finish to start. We have to finish task B in order to start task C. And now we see that task A, which is a summary task, has gone up to 4 days because these are now happening in succession instead of happening at the same time. And you can see that the start and finish dates have changed as well. That's the dependencies. Okay, this is the part that Project for the Web makes so easy. All of this stuff that I'm showing you right now, I found to be much more difficult on Monday.com. But there's a lot of stuff on Monday.com that I like better, but this ain't one of them. So now we go to the timeline view. This is our Gantt chart. And we can see that B and C are linked together in terms of dependencies. But these other ones don't have dependencies. Watch how easy it is for me to set up these dependencies. I just drag and drop them. And we'll say this one depends on that one. We'll say, what if we do it in reverse like that? Still works just fine. And we'll say this one to there. So we can also change the type of dependencies. Occasionally in project management, you want to do start to start or finish to finish, but the most common is you finish the one and then you start the other one. Let's go in here back to our grid. That's just our main database, our main, it's kind of like a spreadsheet. Let's insert, we're going to right click, insert a task above D, and we'll say this one is like C.5 or like C.2 or something. We realized we had another task come up. So there's our C.5 task. We're going to put Joe on that as well. And for that one, we'll go back to the timeline view. Oh, we need a duration on that. That one's going to also be a 2-day duration. 2 days. Okay, and so then we're going to make that one also come from here. So See how those both start at the same time? Because you have to finish task B in order for C and C.5 to both start. But then we've just got this one depending on C. Anyway, you can go around and get your dependencies all just right. It's so easy in Project for the Web. All of this stuff I found to be quite not nearly as easy on Monday.com. Okay, back to the grid. All right, so now one of the big things that we want to look at is when people are scheduled to do stuff and how their allocations are and so forth. So by going to people, we can see that Joe Turner is scheduled for all this stuff. So that's a quick way to look at our scheduling. It's not the only way. We got a charts view. I don't think I have any goals. And then the board view. This board view is, again, they've chosen a different name for it, but it's what people call a Kanban. And I'm going to call this bucket, this is going to be like the priority bucket. And then the other stuff is important. It's not priority, but it's important. And we can also drag these tasks around to these different buckets. Okay, so that's our Kanban view. You can see in this grid view that the dependencies all got set up when I did those in the timeline view. Group members, we can add more people to our group, or we can use an existing group that I've already created. Add to a group. I've got a group I created called Sandbox 3. I'm just going to add that. That gives me a few other members of the team. So here, in addition to Joe, we got test user. Put him in there. Let's see. Assignments. There we are. That's the one we wanted to look at. So when we really look at figuring out who's over allocated and has got too much work going on and what days they're scheduled to do different things, we go to these ... menus. I call them a hamburger menu because like this one over here, this left pane, you can see it looks kind of like a hamburger or a sandwich, but I call these hamburger menus as well. Anyway, we find assignments, and this is where we can get to our resource leveling. So this is where we can look at which days they're scheduled to do what, how many hours they're scheduled to do different things for the different users and which tasks they're assigned to. This ends up being one of the most important things that people need. Also, you can switch that to weekly view or a monthly view. So now instead it's showing how much they're supposed to do each given week. And we can also get like a detailed task view. So I'm just going to look at the details for task C. Oop. Go into this more options, open details. So these are all the main information that's associated with each task. Some people find it helpful sometimes to add an attachment, to add a file to a task. That can make sense. We got the dependency here, dependency type, finish to start, start to finish. You can also have a delay, like the other one has to finish 2 days before this one. Let's just try that. Lag by 2 days. Lead by would be the other way, like it starts 2 days before the other one finishes. Tab. Effort. That's the actual amount of man hours or person hours that go into it. I don't know, let's make this one be like 28 hours. Percent complete, maybe we'll say this one's like 50% complete. Priority, this one's like, it's important. It's not urgent, but it's important. And which bucket it's assigned to in the Kanban view. We'll just move this one to what? Important. Yeah, there we go. And obviously we can rename it. I guess we'll name this, we'll label this one as pink. And that's pretty good. So the label doesn't show up here because we got to add a column for that if we want to see the labels. So there we go, labels. Oh, can't see the color of it. You have to expand that label column a little bit if you want to see the labels. I don't find that to be particularly the most helpful way to use a label, especially since it takes up my precious horizontal space here, my horizontal real estate. But that is where we can see the labels. I'm going to try to get rid of this column. Hide column. There we go. Board. These are the Kanban boards. Timeline. That's the super useful Gantt chart. Oh, there you can see the lag there. There it is. See that lag to start that one? Starts 2 days after the previous one. Charts is going to give us an overview of the whole project. People is who's assigned to what. Goals, you can set goals here. And then assignments, again, is where we do our resource leveling and our resource allocation issues. Okay, that has been like a super fast rundown of Project for the Web. Things that I like is the ease of managing dependencies. Oh, you can also slide these around like this. Just slide them back and forth. And right now it's not going to want to let me schedule it before a certain date because of that dependency. Well, we don't have any milestones here. Let's make a milestone. Milestones are also an important concept. So we'll say that once we get past item F, then we're going to have a milestone. So we're going to insert task above, and this will be finish phase 1. I'm going to outdent that, Alt-Shift arrow, and then duration, I'm just going to put 0 days. And so that should show up as a milestone. When it's 0 days, that's what I consider to be a milestone. I might be able to mark it as a milestone. Oh, I know. I can go into my additional information, open details. Let's see if it already marked it as a milestone. 0 days. I don't know. Maybe we just have to say milestone. And then we'll go to the timeline view. Oops, finished, done, good. Oh, there it is. See, it's a milestone. We'll say that one depends on that one. And this one, let's see, let's get rid of this dependency. And instead, I don't know, I may have to go and delete that dependency manually. Yeah. Anyway, we got our milestone in there. So you get, they look like a little a rhombus, kind of like a diamond. Go away dependency type. There we go. They look like a rhombus. That means it's a milestone. So 0 days, that's how you make that. Okay, and so then one more thing. We'll go back to our home, and then we want to look at like multiple projects. That's one of the nice things about Monday.com is they have a lot of ways to look at multiple projects at the same time. So the way to do this is we're going to create a new plan, and we're going to create a roadmap. It's going to take a minute to get it set up. We're going to add a row, and this will be sandbox 12. Well, let's do it like that. The owner is Joe. And then connect to a plan. See that there? So we have to go in and connect to a project plan. We'll choose sandbox 12. And then there's a little bit of extra work here. It's going to first do some authentication, which is going to take a minute. And then it's going to say, okay, you got to sign into all this stuff. Okay, good. Connect. All right. And then it says, which of these items do I want to include in this particular row of the roadmap? So I actually have to go through and decide which of these items I want to include. Maybe I don't want to include all the summary tasks. I just want to include the individual tasks. Or I could do it the other way around. Actually, that probably makes more sense to just we'll include the milestone and the summary tasks, but not the main tasks. Okay, and there, it's connecting the rows. So there it's got those different items on there. And then if I wanted to include another project, you could also include multiple projects within one row, but I think the most straightforward way to do this is, I think I have another sandbox called like sandbox maybe 3, I think. We'll say the owner is Joe. We're going to connect this one to a plan from project, sandbox 3, there it is. It's going to take a minute for authentication. And connect. And then again, we have to choose which items we want to include on there. For this one, we're going to do just like the subtasks. I guess we'll include the milestone goal as well. And we got some more here. Okay, and update. Now it's going to take a second to sync. 0 connected row items. There it goes, 11 connected row items. Okay. So those are showing up on here as well. I think there should be some back here. Yeah, there they are. And so this is how you get your kind of overview when you're on project for the web. I'll call this sandboxes. Okay, good. All right, that is my very fast overview of Microsoft Project. And I've got my roadmap on there and my projects and all my other old projects that I was trying stuff out with. And there is one other view. Let's see if I can find the other view. Nope, not today. Okay, well anyway, that gives you a very fast look at project for the web. So what I like about Monday.com, I found it easier to integrate and make little like API calls. I researched a little bit doing API calls on project for the web. They can be done, but it appears that one would need an enterprise level plan. So they want you to pay up for that, as far as I could tell. Don't quote me, look it up yourself, but that's the way it looked to me. And much easier to make Gantt charts and manage dependencies on here. On Monday.com, there's a bit more in terms of different ways of pulling together your plans. I found that looking at resource allocation was quite straightforward here on Microsoft Project, using that one little tab that I showed you. And I found that on Monday.com it wasn't too difficult either. It's called like workload. Y'all, it's the same kind of thing. You have to like go search around for the extra tab. And on Monday.com it's called workload, and on here it's called something or something like that. This has been a very quick overview of Project for the Web, and I thank you all for being part of this exciting live web stream with your host eagleDog. A good evening to all.